what is your biggest fear about starting work as a doctor in wards?
My biggest fear about starting as a doctor is not knowing how to recognise when a patient is really sick and really in need of escalation senior care.
My biggest fear is that I have not had enough experience on the wards as compared to some of my other colleagues in the past year due to the coronavirus restrictions.
For me, I think it's the fear of change. I've been in education for as long as I can remember, and going into the world of work is going to be quite a big step for me, and I'm not sure exactly what it'll entail. So I guess, yeah, fear of the unknown.
So I've got quite a while left before I'm let loose on any wards, but I think at the moment the biggest thing that scares me is just maybe not knowing enough or feeling like I don't know enough, and I think that stems from, as a medical applicant, you're constantly comparing yourself to the other applicants, and then when you get into med school that competitiveness doesn't really go away, and sometimes that can be quite a negative thing.
My biggest fear about starting as a doctor on the wards would be that as a medical student you're really well supported on placement, so you always have someone with you making sure that you're doing things properly, and when you're in FY1 you maybe don't get that luxury all the time, so that's something that I'm definitely scared about, but hopefully by the time I get to that stage I'll be a lot more confident.
I have no doubt that throughout my time at medical school, the fears and concerns I have about joining the doctors on the wards when I graduate will change. Right now, I think the biggest fear is not knowing if I will feel ready. Whilst 4.5 years until I graduate and start training as a junior doctor feels like a lifetime away, it also feels incredibly soon. And just leaves me with that question, says, can I possibly learn enough in only 4.5 years? Of course I can. That's how it's designed, that's how it works, but it doesn't get away from that feeling of saying, will I be ready?
I think the medical profession is very challenging, it's very demanding, it's very high stakes, maybe compared to some other jobs. There's much more at risk sometimes. My biggest fear personally is just not knowing what to do in a ward situation where you are under pressure. However, as you go through medical school you do get much more experience in hospitals, and often your final year is really just preparing you for being an FY1 doctor. So hopefully that fear will go away, but yeah, my biggest fear is just not knowing what to do and being on the spot.
And sort of lose myself to my work and lose sight of all the other things I want to do in life as well. So that's probably my biggest concern, working as a doctor.
So what am I most worried about practicing on the wards? So obviously as a second year, it's quite a way off for me, but it's something that I think about sometimes. I'm like, oh, I will actually be a doctor at some point. And I think what scares me the most is the thought that I'll have to remember everything that we've been taught so far. So even in just the 1.5 years that I've been at med school, it feels like we've been taught a lot, and I really hope that I'll be able to remember not just science, but the skills as well that we're taught, the qualities of a doctor, and I really hope that I'll be able to remember all of this and be able to treat patients the way that I would like to be treated myself as a patient.
So my biggest fear about sort of becoming a doctor on the wards is doing stuff wrong, and I think a lot of people are probably in the same boat. I just have this fear of, running around like a headless chicken, or people asking you questions and you don't know the answer. But I think that it'll all come with confidence and more experience on the wards. It's like any job really, the more you do it, the more you feel confident in it, and it will just become like a second nature, hopefully. So I think I'll just kind of put that to the back of my mind until it actually comes, because what's the point in worrying about it when in reality I can't do that much about it sitting at a desk in a library studying for exams right now.
My biggest fear personally about starting as a doctor in the wards, especially just not knowing anything, not knowing how to react in emergencies, but I've been told by older medical students and junior doctors that there's a lot of help for you when you start off, and it's not something to worry about too much. So I'm really looking forward to it.